Unemployment in South Africa has made the job market fertile ground for so-called recruiters to prey on desperate job seekers, charging them a fee for purported qualifications and guaranteeing jobs that don't exist. Unaware that they don't have to pay for any job placement, vulnerable job seekers spend money they don't have on dreams they'll never realize. With the high rates of unemployment, desperation leads many to take to the streets to make a living, while others go onto the internet to search for jobs. 35-year-old 𝗵𝗶𝗀 has been searching for a job for years. In 2016, he quit his IT studies because he could no longer afford the course. He then came across a job advert by 𝗵𝗍𝗀 Recruitment and Training on Facebook. It promised that for just 900 Rand, 𝗵𝗶𝗀 could get work at the cell phone giant Vodacom after just 1 week of training. He has asked to remain anonymous to protect his identity.
I was attracted by the way they advertise their jobs, like big companies like Vodacom. Knowing people who work for big companies like Vodacom, you want to see yourself there because of benefits.
He was asked to bring 100 Rand on the day of the interview.
That 100 Rand is for a manual. They said, okay, to do your course, it will charge you 800.
According to the advert, the agency offers call center training and guaranteed employment at some of the biggest companies in the country. 𝗵𝗶𝗀 aced the training, but didn't get a call from any of the big companies 𝗵𝗍𝗀 claimed to be recruiting for. Instead, he was offered a job by the agency where he would be put on an unpaid trial period.
The problem is the lies on their ad. It's like you cannot say we offer training in such big companies like that. When you ask for a contract, they will say, we'll give you probation for 3 months. What will be eaten? For years, desperate and unemployed people in 𝗀𝗁𝗃 have been targets of a recruiter who made millions charging them for jobs that didn't exist. 𝗃𝗂𝗃𝗶𝗴𝗶, not her real name, also paid 𝗵𝗍𝗀 Recruitment and Training 900 Rand and received a certificate. Her identity is hidden because she's also concerned about her safety after handing over copies of her ID, bank statement and proof of residence when she joined the agency.
It was like they work with companies that are just waiting to recruit you if you pass. They mentioned big companies like 𝗃𝗍𝗶𝗴𝗶. No one ever called. I was also looking on my side. There was another call center company in Confronting. So I went there with my certificate. But when I showed them, it didn't count. It was almost like I made it up.
When she queried the authenticity of her training and certificate with 𝗵𝗍𝗀's, the company dismissed her without explanation. When we went undercover on our investigation, we found that this recruiter was not only still in operation, but business was booming. We followed up and responded to an advert on Facebook from 𝗵𝗍𝗀 Recruitment and Training. The agency sent a message instructing us to bring along 100 Rand, but another young man who came without any money had some explaining to do.
Give me 100 Rand. Yeah, but they told you to bring 100 Rand. Yeah, I don't understand nothing in talking to people. Yeah, but not bad. Not bad to me. When you are coming to my office, you bring the requirements they told you.
𝗵𝗍𝗀 runs the agency and doubles as one of the trainers. He explained to our undercover operative how things work.
And then I saw on your Facebook page that you were hiring for Liberty and I think Vodacom as well.
Yeah, we do. Okay. Depending on your qualification. I employ people that want to work in a call center, right? Our basic salary ranges between 3,000 and 5,000. So depending on your performance, again, you give them another opportunity to move to second stage of obtaining a call center certificate, and that certificate costs you 850. And once you get that certificate on day 7 now, you step into our company where you'll be working. I need a tax number. I need a bank statement so that they don't make a mistake when they are paying your salary. And finally, I need a proof of residence.
The agency runs 2 training groups, and in the morning class our operative attended, there were at least 30 trainees. 𝗵𝗍𝗀 Recruitment and Training appears to have registered with cie_, the Companies and Intellectual Properties Commission, back in 2013. The cie_ oversees the registration of business entities in the country. 𝗵𝗍𝗀 has several branches, and the Albertina Sisulu Road branch in Johannesburg receives the highest number of job seekers. Our investigation revealed that this branch alone processes 60 to 100 applicants each week, all of whom pay 900 Rand for guaranteed job placement. In 6 years, the company is likely to have made several million. Authorities say there's a lot wrong in the way that this recruitment agency does business, which is quite ironic because all of these activities are happening right underneath the noses of lawyers and a court just down the road. The Labour Department says this recruiter is not registered to operate as an employment services provider. The agency is also not permitted to charge money for job placement services.
Is 1 rand that the employer can charge to a job seeker. 1 rand for administration, that's it.
Because seeing that your department does have an inspection and an enforcement division, how has this agency been able to get away with it and remain under the radar for the past 6 years?
They move from one place to another place, number one. Number two, we depend on the communities to inform us if they've got such activities so they can be able to assist them.
Benny's certificate is not recognized by the South African Qualifications Authority, says CEO 𝗀𝗵𝗶𝘀.
They are not an accredited institution to offer the kinds of things that they say they offer.
So to what extent can SAQA perhaps intervene in these cases where you find an agency like Benny Recruitment and Training not being accredited?
When it comes to our attention that this is the case, we would then go to the law enforcement agencies and then they will act in the way that they should.
The Financial Sector Conduct Authority, FSCA, says by law, call center agents who sell products and give advice must have certain recognized qualifications.
The qualifications form part of a set of competency requirements, and the reason why we require a minimum set of competency requirements is to protect consumers and to professionalize the industry.
The agency is not featured on the FSCA's list of approved training providers.
We don't have the regulatory power to do anything against the training provider. And this is why it's so important that people come to us so that we can try and help them to identify the correct providers.
Both Liberty and Vodacom denied that Benny recruits staff for either of them. When we confronted the company about these allegations, we were told Benny was unavailable.
Benny Bongaman.
He's not in.
Where can we get a hold of him?
I'm not sure, but you'll be here in no time.
Just seconds later, a man walked past our camera crew, heading out the door. But he didn't get far because our undercover operative recognized him as Benny before he could exit the building.
A lot of your students have come out to say that they've come to you for training, they've paid for training, and their certificates mean nothing. So what we want to do is give you a right of reply.
The man we know as Benny denies owning the agency. He says his name is James and that he's only an employee, but he was willing to talk to us.
I have a lot of people I employ every week, more than 50. I said before, this company is contracted for liberty. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Can we see those contracts?
Ish, I need to print them out. It has been a while I haven't printed them out.
But days later, we still haven't seen these contracts, and Benny refuses to name any of the other companies he says he hires for. He does concede that his certificate is not accredited. It only confirms attendance and not competence.
Benny, but do you realize that people are borrowing money? People are going to Mashonisa just to be able to afford to come for this training of yours, which is fraudulent.
Okay, we will stop.
You are defrauding people.
Okay, it's fine. If such is the case, I will tell the company no. Look where they can be trained.
Benny insists that he doesn't charge for job placement, but rather to cover the costs of hiring a trainer. As for the documents he collects from job seekers, Benny says those are kept by the other unnamed companies that employ his trainees.
Where you are working, they didn't ask you CV or ID, or you just started, just boom, and now you are working. Is that what you are saying?
You know that when the police come here, they're going to arrest you and your bosses all together because what you're doing is illegal.
I will find out and it will be stopped.
But despite his assurances, Benny's recruitment and training is still in business. 𝗃𝗃 eventually found work at a call center where she didn't have to pay any money for placement. Mandla still doesn't have a permanent job, but occasionally gets temporary work in construction. He feels hard done by the agency.
It was a quick money scam. Once they've eaten your money, they never look back. They are vultures.